So I'll be starting probably, we'll give it about 1 more minute and I'll be starting. Please make sure to turn off your mics. Good morning. Make sure to turn off your mics, but if you want to leave your webcam on, that's great. I know everybody likes to see each other since we're also virtual, so your webcam on is optional, that's up to you. But I love seeing all your faces. So good morning, everybody in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It's good to see everybody. Welcome back. I'm hoping most of you are returning. If this is your first time, welcome to American Center. We're excited to be bringing you these virtual programs every week. And
good morning.
With us. Good morning. So my name is Nansie Ike, and I'm actually coming. I work with the in the public affairs section with the US Embassy. It's morning time in Phnom Penh, and I'm actually broadcasting from the United States, and it's 8 o'clock at night here. So for me, it's good evening. So we're glad to have you. And this morning for all of you, I'll be presenting on time management skills. And make sure to join us every week for these different presentations. Between myself and Craig, we'll be back every week and presenting different presentations to all of you. Make sure to like us on the Facebook page, US Embassy Phnom Penh. Feel free to share these things, and then also the American Center. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you. And it always takes me a minute. All right, so Tita, can you see the screen? Don't think so yet. It always takes me a minute to.
Not yet, Nancy.
All right, I'm getting there. And it's not it. All right. What happened to my? Sorry, it always takes me a minute to do this. And let me escape. Let me go back to here and share. All right. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Sorry. This is every week I go through this and think I would learn. So we're going to look at good time management skills, and good time management skills leads to good productivity, whether you're a student, whether you're at work, and it's so important. And for the last several decades, one of my jobs, I've been working in schools, is helping young people learn good time management skills. And often they'll come to me and they'll say, Miss Nancy or Miss Ike, I don't know how to meet my deadlines. I don't know how to manage my time. I have 3 different projects going. Can you help me? And I've taught them just a few skills. And within a year, once they have put these skills in place, they'll come back and say, this has changed my life. So we're going to look at a few skills tonight. And then at the end, we'll talk about maybe some skills that you've learned, or some skills that have one of these skills that has helped you the most. So let's just look at a quick video just as an introduction.
Nancy?
Yes.
Because someone is sharing their screen like before, and your screen is disconnected. Can you please reshare it again?
Yeah. So let me go back in and resume your presentation. Resume presenting. You see it?
See it now, yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. So let's watch this quick little video. So the good news is, if you're finding yourself falling behind, if you find that your stress is increasing because of this, you can get better. One of the first ways we want to start is staying focused. And I want you to just think a minute of distractions that keep you from getting your work done. So each of us has different distractions in our lives. So think about that. What are some things? You have this big project in front of you. What distractions come into your life that keep you from getting what you need to get done? So think about that. If you want to put your ideas in the chat box, feel free to do that. Because the first thing we need to look at for good time management skills is staying focused. So distractions, what are some of these distractions? Well, a big one is obviously social media, right? We have our computer open, our phone open, we're trying to get our work done, and all of a sudden, ding, ding, and Facebook comes up. Or maybe it's Twitter. Or the new one in America right now is TikTok, or email, or a new thing on YouTube, and you just have to watch it. And if you're like me, you look at Facebook and you say, okay, 5 minutes, and suddenly 1 hour later, you're still on Facebook, and those things that needed to get done aren't getting done. So we really need to focus and block those distractions. If they're a huge problem for you, here are some things that I suggest and have suggested to my students that has really worked in the past. Here are apps that you can download for free that can block distractions. I want to start with the last two. The one that says self-control down at the bottom is for Macs, or stay focused is for Chrome. And those are really helpful. Let's say you have a big project that's due and you don't want to be distracted by social media or anything else. You can use this app for a certain period of time and block all of that social media that's coming in. Let's say you've set aside 1 hour or 2 hours to really get this work done. Then this app will block social media sites for those 2 hours, and then you can unblock it. So these two especially are very helpful, so that you're not distracted by those things. There's rescue time. That really helps as well track your productivity as well as block your sites. If you don't want to actually block the sites, I'm going from the bottom to the top. Mindful browsing for Chrome gives you gentle nudges away from time-wasting sites. They'll just come on and say, oh, you're spending too much time on this social media site. So look at some of these apps and use these to block the distractions during the time that you need to get the work done, if this is a problem for you. Brain FM, Cold Turkey Blocker, Focus at Will, Hocus Pocus, Freedom, Leech Block, Mindful Browsing, Rescue Time, Self-Control, Stay Focused. If you're a parent, these are good ones for your children as well. Or if you're not a parent but will be someday, these are good ones to put on the computer for your own children, but also for yourself, to just give you a time where you're not looking at any of these distractions. Just like this husband and wife, where we're so focused on Facebook, and I know living in Cambodia how important Facebook is, right? So we don't want to get so focused on that. So block yourself from distractions. The other huge distractions are phones, right? We don't go anywhere without your phone. So you're sitting down, you want to get some work done, and ding, you just got a WhatsApp, or ding, you just got a new Facebook. Somebody's just put something new, and you just have to look. Put your phone in another place. Turn off notifications, or use it as a short-term reward with a time in place, so you're not using it for an hour. If you think you're using your phone too much, start recording how much time you spend on your phone. There are actually apps that will tell you, oh, you spent 2 hours today on your phone. It's a little bit shocking. Put those in place and start recording how much time you actually spend on your phone. And then set your own goals to limit this time. One app that's really interesting is the Forest app. And this where you set time limits for how long you want to use your phone. And if you succeed, a tree will grow, okay? And what you want is you want a digital forest. So when you see that forest, it means that you're not using your phone as much. So it can be a bit more fun because you don't want to be like the person in this video who uses their phone too much. So don't be like those people. Put your phones down. We've all been there where we've gone out to eat or you've been with your friends and they're so distracted by their phones, they don't focus on you at all. Phones can get in the way of work productivity. Put your phones away. And then what are other distractions that maybe you put in the chat box or maybe you're thinking about? We all have our distraction. Maybe it's not social media. Maybe it's not phones. Maybe it's our friends. For some people, it's exercise. For some people, it's TV. I know that's been a big distraction during this COVID time. A lot of Netflix. What are you watching on Netflix? And it can really get in the way of getting your work done. So watch your distractions. They are a huge detriment to work productivity. The other thing we really need to look at is how do we prioritize our time? This is so important. You may have 12 hours in your day and you have a to-do list of 100 things. How do you look at that to-do list and prioritize? What is the most important thing that I need to get done? Because every day we should be writing that list and we need to decide what is the most important. So we need to look at those things and put the ones that are the most important at the top. How do we decide that? We need to look at what needs to be done, how long it's going to take, when is it due? So we need to put those due dates down. How important is this task to others, to the people I work with? How important is this task to me? What will happen if I don't get this task done? And what are things that if I get interrupted, what will stop me from getting this task done? So let's look at how we do this. So you can make 4 boxes. Let's look at the green box first. This is where you want to put your to-do list of those tasks that are the urgent and the most important. So look at your day. Look at what needs to get done. What is the most urgent thing? What is the most important thing? That's your to-do list in that green box. That's what you need to do now. So for example, getting this presentation done on time was urgent and important, and I needed to do it now. So that would go in that green box. Then you look at the blue box, important, but not urgent. But I still need to decide when I'm going to do it. So I have an important task that I need to get done. It's not urgent, but it's still important. So I need to decide what date I'm going to get that done by, what day I'm going to do that. Because what happens is I wait next week. Oh, I'll do that the week after or the week after. So I need to put a date, June 21st. I'm going to get this important but not urgent task done. So my to-do list would go in that blue box. Maybe you have some really urgent tasks, but they're not as important. And a really important time management skill is to delegate, to give it to someone else to do if you can do that. If you're working in a group, if you're in an office and you are a manager especially, delegation is one of the most important time management skills you could learn. Don't do it all yourself. That's a temptation. What's urgent but not as important, give it away. And then in the red box, what's not important, what's not urgent, delete it. Writing that extra note on Facebook is probably not important and not urgent, so delete it and use that during your recreation time. And then a really important skill that I teach my students is once you get your important tasks that you need to get done, then break it down into small to-do tasks. So for example, the big project that I had was this presentation. So the presentation could seem overwhelming, but I need to break it down. Task 1 would be deciding on what am I going to present on. Task 2, and then I would do research. Task 2, what are the different topics under that topic? What are my subtopics? And then I would research each of those and get that done. Task 3, looking for the pictures or the videos that would go with that, and then putting them into that. And once I get all of that done, now my project is finished, but I've broken each of that down into small to-do tasks. And with that comes your own special reward. Wow, look what I accomplished. Let's listen to this short video from Dr. Bren that talks about this. So remember, prioritize. Stay focused on the big picture. What's the most important? What's the most urgent? That's what you start with. You do it now. You make your goals based on that. Really important, break it down into small tasks. Set your dates for accomplishing these goals. Set your time limits for getting them done. I'm going to work on task 1 for 2 hours today. And then reward yourself for completing those tasks. And your time management will improve. So make sure you're staying focused. Make sure you're prioritizing. And then let's look at multitasking. Think for a minute. How many of you think that multitasking is doing several things at one time? You have to answer your email, you have to work on this project, and you're in a meeting and you're trying to do it all at once. Is that a good thing? Is that a good skill for good productivity, time management, or is that a poor skill? I want you to know that multitasking is not beneficial for productivity. In fact, it can really hurt your productivity. And we're really good at multitasking, right? We're answering phones, we're answering emails, we're doing it all at the same time. And we think, wow, look at me, look at all I'm getting done. But I want you to listen, because it increases your work time by 25% on one task when you multitask. It also increases your error and increases your stress. So multitasking is not a good time management skill. Remember that it adds 25% extra time to every task. It reduces your creativity. It increases error. And remember that switching between one task and another is not beneficial at all. Do one task for a sustained amount of time and do it well. Think about the world. If you try to do too many things at once, you probably won't finish those tasks to a high standard. It will take you more time than if you would just focus on one time. So you hinder your productivity by multitasking. So here are good time management skills that lead to productivity. There's a lot of them, but the ones that I have found, these simple skills, that once my students started using this, it changed their lives. Staying focused, staying away from those distractions that interfere with getting your work done. If you are so focused on your phone, If you are so focused on social media, use blockers that you need, those free apps that you can download. Remember to prioritize. Do now the things that are the most important and the most urgent. Make those to-do lists. Set your goals. Set your time limits of getting that done and your dates of when you're going to accomplish those. And don't multitask. When you get your to-do list, do the most important, the most urgent, and only work on that. If you have to shut your door, if you have whatever it takes that you have to do, only work on that one task. Remember, multitasking increases the time of getting something done by 25%. That's a lot. And so what are the benefits of good time management skills? Well, here's just a few, and you can think of more, I'm sure. So you deliver your work on time. Remember that it provides a better quality of work. If you get away from distractions, if you prioritize your to-do list, if you don't multitask, your work will be better. You will be more productive and efficient. Much less procrastination. I'm a procrastinator. I have to do these things because if I don't, I'll save it to the last minute. Less stress and anxiety. We all need that in our lives. It will increase your opportunities and career growth. Your supervisors will say, that person knows how to get work done and knows how to get it done well and on time. And then it's really important, more time for leisure and recreation. It's important to us to take care of ourselves. It's important for our families. So those are all just a few of some benefits that are example of having good time management, which leads to productivity. So that's it for my presentation. I'm going to stop presenting. And what I'd like to do is come back and in the chat box, if you could just put down maybe what were some things that you saw that maybe you feel that you need to work on, or what were some of the distractions that you put in that are distracting you, and what are some things that you do? If you want to unmute and do a little discussion on time management, or if you have any questions, please, let's do that now. So you can unmute yourself or share in the chat box. What are some time management? Are there any of those skills that you say, oh, I need that, I need to work on that? Or are there any questions that you have? Let's start with those two things.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you very much for your sharing. It is very useful. Yeah.
Good.
Actually, I learned about the time management quite often time. And like the technique that you are sharing, it's already applies in the work. But anyhow, that sometimes it is still like very in like a frustration of the manage ourselves in like the multitasking. So based on your tip sharing that I already follow, so that is how that any clue or more additional tip that how can I manage the situation during like the multitasking and also everything in rushing hour, and also it is all like priority and the deadline at the same time, 2 or 3 deadlines coming up at the same time. So can you give me some more tip or clue how that we can manage this kind like the frustration situation? Thank you.
Sure, that's a really good question. I know sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 deadlines coming at you at once. If you have, if you know about these deadlines ahead of time, it can really be helpful if you start working on them as much ahead of time as you can. And remember, one of the things, if you can, I don't know about your situation, but if you can, let those around you know that maybe from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning, you are only working on this project, and please don't interrupt you. So sometimes we need to let those around us know that we're working on a certain thing, and we're not available to answer emails. We're going to block emails out. Maybe it's even just an hour of your day, but you let those around you know. So, and then start working ahead of time on those projects and try to set those due dates down into small bits.
Nancy, someone mute you. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, so also when I was working at another embassy, I took one whole day for just administration purposes, and I let everyone know this is my work day. And I maybe would spend an hour answering emails, but the rest of the time was letting everyone know around me that this was the day I was accomplishing these tasks and I wasn't to be interrupted. So sometimes we have to set those times and we have to let those around us know. And maybe we can't take a whole day, that's a luxury, but sometimes we can let people know the first 2 hours of my morning, I'm doing this, and please don't interrupt or don't schedule meetings during that time. Let me know if that's helpful.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if anybody else has any suggestions of what they do, please feel free. Yes.
Hello, Nancy.
Hello.
I understand your presentation, and I would like you to give a real example. I mean, what should a teacher do in terms of time management? Can you give a real example as a teacher? Because I'm working for a school, so I really want to get some idea for that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a really good question. So what I do as a teacher is I work backwards. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So let's say I'm going to be teaching a unit or a certain. What do you teach? Do you teach English?
I teach English.
Okay, so let's say in 2 weeks' time, you want your students to have learned about a certain grammar. So you put that due date down at the end of 2 weeks. Let's say June 21st, you want them to learn this skill. And then you work backwards. So how are they gonna learn that skill? And so then you start breaking that skill down until you get to the beginning. So it's called working backwards. And so every day, then you have a task that your students are going to do, and then the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, until they get to that end of what it is you want them to have learned. So we often will work backwards, start with the end, and then move backwards to the beginning and break that down. And I know as a teacher, there's only so many hours in your day, right? And there's so much they have to learn. So I try to get it takes a lot of time, and I really have to focus on the time that I have as a teacher and don't multitask. So if I want my whole month planned out of what I'm going to teach for a whole month, I need to look at the big picture. What is it I want to teach? And then break that down into all the skills that I'm going to teach. And then I start building my plans on that. But it may take a whole day of planning. So I have to set that day aside. It may be my whole Saturday. But once it's done, then I'm ready to go into the classroom, and it saved me a lot of time. Does that help?
Thank you, but I would like to continue my question.
Okay.
As you know, different teachers are really different based on experience. Some teachers are creative and innovative. I mean, after we plan from home, right? And the teacher can do something just in class in front of the student immediately, what we call creative and innovative. Mm-hmm. My question is that, what is your suggestion to the teachers who are not really innovative and creative in front of the student?
So I try when I plan my units or my lesson plan, I try to put and create an innovative or creative task that my students can do every time. So I put that in because I may not think about it right there on the moment. So and then also it's so important to go to the teachers that are innovative and creative and ask them for suggestions and ask them for ideas, right? Because we're a team. So ask them, but I try to build that in to every single lesson I have as an English teacher. What creative way can I help my students learn this skill? And then I actually put that into my planning. So I don't have to think of it on the spot. And then if it works, I use it again and again. If it doesn't, I throw it out and use another one. Okay?
Thank you. That works. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes, I can share these slides. I can share these slides with Suchita, and then you can write her at the American Center, and I can get the slides to you. So it looks like someone else has a question. What is it? Imhangsen?
Hello, hi, this is Ping Hong, and I've got a question. I'm not quite sure if this is fully related to what you just presented, but so I'm pretty sure that along the way you probably have experienced stress and anxiety when you got too many tasks, although you have tried different things to sort them out. So the question is, do you have any advices based on your own experience to cope up with stress and anxiety once we have too many tasks to do? That's the question. Thank you.
That's a really good question, and we're all dealing with some stress and anxiety in our life. So one thing I try to do is reward myself. I'll say, I'm going to work on this one task for 30 minutes, or I'm going to work on this one task for 40 minutes. And then I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to give myself a 10-minute break. I'm going to do something nice for myself. Or I'm going to go on a walk for 15 minutes. Or I'm going to just stop and take deep breaths. Remember, breathing really, really helps. Or I'm going to focus, or I'm going to call a friend. So it's really important when you have so many tasks, so many things that are due, especially if you're a student. Try to break your time down. Don't try to work for 3 hours straight. We can't do that. Our minds aren't able to do that. We can't process like that. Be kind to yourself. If you've worked for 30 minutes, clap for yourself. Say, good job. Look what I have done. Make sure you're looking back to see the things that you've done and done well. Don't keep looking at all that you have to do. Reward yourself for those things that you've already done. And then what next small step can you take to get the next thing done? And say, good job. Reward yourself for that. So those breaks are really important. Taking those deep breaths. There's going to be times that maybe we'll miss a deadline. So make sure to talk to somebody about that. Talk to your supervisor ahead of time. Talk to your professor ahead of time. Don't wait till you've already missed the deadline. Go ahead of time and let them know that maybe you need an extra hour or an extra day to get this done. Usually they'll work with you. But I think most important is reward yourself for the things that you've already done, for the things that you've done well. and then break those down into small segments. And each time you get something done, reward yourself for that and see if that helps. And don't forget to take the deep breaths and breathe and be kind to yourself. Do the important things. Exercise is the thing that helps me with stress the most. I go off and I jog or I walk or I bike. So those are very important things. Don't forget to take care of yourself. Does that help?
Yes, of course, a lot. Thank you, Nancy.
Somebody put up here is time management skills required for leadership. Time management skills are very important for leadership. People are watching you. A person is having micromanagement. What time management skills could help that person think better? So micromanaging is something that I really don't like. Thankfully, I've always worked with bosses that have, if you're a good time management person, more than likely that if your boss sees that, they're not going to micromanage you. But if you're feeling like you're being micromanaged, it might help to try to talk that through and just show the person that you're working for your priority list and those things that your plan to get that work done. And sometimes when that person, your supervisor, sees your work plan, they'll trust you more. So if you can show them a work plan, then they'll let you go often and say, wow. So see if that would help. So that always having a work plan really helps. So how do I keep motivated? Yeah, time management is so complicated. So yes, when I did my master's, I had 3 children and I was married and working. So I understand trying to balance all of that. I will tell you, your stress is going to be part of your life sometimes. Learning to handle that stress is so important. So again, being kind to yourself, taking those moments that you can. Sometimes it may be taking time to read or to your children, doing those important things that fill your life with joy, putting them to bed, and then you may have to stay up to midnight. But don't multitask. Remember, get work just on that one thing that needs to get done, and it'll happen. But there's going to be times in our lives and in years in our lives that are more stressful than others, and especially when you have younger children at home. Yeah. So good questions, everybody.
Morning, Nancy. I have evening for your side.
Yes.
Anyway, my question is related to, it's not really related to the time management, but about the manage how to read the book. I try to block myself for 1 hour, 2 hours to finish one chapter, but I couldn't, It nothing interrupt me, but me, myself, getting boring. Although I talk to myself, this chapter is very important. I have to finish it. Very important, very urgent that I want to learn something. But I couldn't. So I talk to myself how bad I am, I want to encourage myself. I have a lot of books. I spend my time, my pocket to buy a book because I goes to the library. I found very interesting book, very important thing in the book that I need to read. I need to finish within a month, but I couldn't, I had to sell a lot. So I asked my son, he likes reading a book. I asked him, how made you, how made you motivation to finish a book within a week? He said that, I finished within 3 days. For me, I can finish one book for about 3 months. Still, sometimes it takes me longer. So I'd like to learn from you. If you have something, please appreciate, share with me, please. Thank you.
So for one, it's maybe these are books that you need to learn from. So, but it's not, okay, so an hour or 2 hours is too long. All right. If it's a difficult book. So here's what I tell a lot of my students. Get a timer and set it for 15 minutes. And read what you can in 15 minutes. If you need to take notes and like say, wow, I read for 15 minutes, and be kind to yourself. Maybe next time set it for 20 minutes. But an hour or 2 hours, especially if you're not enjoying the book or it's boring, then do short-term goals, 15 minutes. What did I learn in 15 minutes? And then celebrate. Wow, go share with someone. Share with your son. Look what I learned in 15 minutes of reading this book. But don't go for an hour or 2 hours. That's too long. And don't forget just to read for pleasure. Reading for pleasure without trying to learn everything. Just read for pleasure. Have fun reading. Find a book that's really exciting to you, and then read that. But set short term. I just have my kids write, and get a little kitchen timer, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then be happy. Look what I accomplished. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's a big thing. So even if you read 20 minutes a day, wow, that's great. Celebrate.
Great, thank you. Let me share. I used to do that. I read only one small paragraph, about only 10 minutes. And at the end, I say, wow, very nice. Today I've done a big job. But then when I finish only a very short time, very short paragraph, the next day I don't feel to read.
You what?
I don't feel of reading next day. Okay. I feel, okay, I use a very short time. So that's why I want just to block myself. I grab all the telephone, all the computer, all the work. Sometimes I spend myself in a very quiet place, and but okay, I learned something. Anyway, thank you very much. I try to do that now.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so someone asked, how do you cope with autoimmune or the work or family issues? How do you get those recovered? That's a difficult question. I would, if you have a doctor or a counselor that you could maybe talk to them about that, I think those are some really serious issues, and definitely I would maybe try to find a good counselor that could help you through that, or a good friend, because I really hear your heart in that. Those are some really difficult issues, and you're trying to get that done. Plus, the stress of working and those things. So I really feel for you in that, and I would encourage you to find a good counselor for that if you can. Procrastination. That's such a hard one, right? So really, maybe having someone that you're accountable to. So when I work with my students, I help them set their goals, and they get a calendar out, and they even fill in their calendar of when they're going to accomplish their goals, because I know that they're a procrastinator. And then they come back the next day and they're accountable to me, and they say, here's what I accomplished. So if you're a procrastinator, making sure, get your calendar out, set your goals on the calendar, but share those goals with someone and ask them to help keep you accountable. And that really helps sometimes. But also for procrastination, if you can break those big tasks down into smaller tasks, that also helps, and reward yourself for that. Procrastination is a tough one, isn't it? Sometimes we just have to make that list, that to-do list, and seeing those things crossed off really helps. Another thing I encourage my students to do is get a whiteboard and put it up in their room and write their to-do list down on their whiteboard, and write their calendar down on their whiteboard, so they always are seeing it. And as they accomplish their tasks, they can erase it. And you may not think that's very much, but that's huge, because they're actually seeing it go away in front of their eyes, and it makes them feel better. Also, as a procrastinator, instead of waiting to the morning to make your to-do list, make it the night before. What do I need to finish tomorrow? And put that on your board, or put that in a to-do list the night before, so when you wake up in the morning, it's there. So those are some things that can help with procrastination. Get someone to be accountable, use a board in your room or a big piece of paper where you can write it on and cross it off, and then make your to-do list the night before. How do you find a better atmosphere for focusing? You know, I don't know if you're aware that all of us study differently and learn differently. So some people, my daughter, she goes away to a coffee shop and puts her headphones on, and she can really study in a coffee shop that really helps her study. If I really have to present or do a hard task, I have to be quiet and away from people. So sometimes some people work better on a couch with all their papers around them, and they study better that way. Some of my students study better at a desk with a light. So you have to find what's best for yourself. There are even tests that you can take online that help you determine that. You can find out how you study the best. Do you study best at a desk? Do you study best where there's people or a little bit of distraction around? Do you need music? Do you work better in a comfortable setting? So you need to find the best atmosphere for yourself. It may look different than what your friend uses. So your friend may need to sit at a desk. You may need a very comfortable place. Find out what works best for you. Some of us are better in the evening. Some of us are better in the morning. I'm a better evening person. I get more work done in the evening or afternoon. I'm not as good in the morning. My husband gets most of his work done in the morning. So find out when you're most productive. That's also important. So you have to kind of begin to know yourself, and remember that we're all created differently, right? The way I do things and the way I accomplish things may look different than what your friend does. So your friend may get up early in the morning and tell you you should do that, but maybe that doesn't work for you. Find out what works for you. How do you teach your team time management if they don't want to learn it? Wow, that's a tough one, right? If it's your team and you're the supervisor, they need to get those tasks done on time. And just like there's rewards, well, there's also times where you have to feel I don't want to use the word punishment, but you have to feel the ramifications of not accomplishing that. So if they're not learning time management skills or aren't putting those in place, then what is their motivation? How are you motivating them? Okay. What things can you do better as a team leader to motivate them? And then what are the parameters that you're putting in place? Do they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing and when it's supposed to be accomplished by? And what happens if they don't meet those deadlines? So maybe some of those things, making that really clear, might help. So we only have about 4 minutes left. Does anybody have any good suggestions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
When I was in high school, I can count myself as good at time management. But when I turned to be a university student, I don't know why. I keep thinking on the future result of the task, and I keep thinking about whether it's turned to be good or bad. And I know myself that it might be a fear of having bad result. So I would like to ask you that, do you have any suggestions for me to deal with that fear? Because whenever I have an assignment, I keep thinking on that, and finally I put that task to the deadline date. So I feel frustrated because I'm not really that procrastinator, but I don't know why I keep having that fear. yes, I really need your suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
You get a task and you're afraid of failure. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
Okay. So you're thinking more about that. When you get a task, it sounds like you're successful, you're at university. And so when you get a task, if you could maybe look at those things that you can do in that task well, all right? Because we focus so much on ourselves and what we can't do well that we forget to look at what we are doing well or can do well. We're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? We expect perfection. We can't be perfect. So what part of that assignment that you have can you look at and say, I can do this well, and I can do this well, and I can do this well, and break that down and start with the small. Sometimes we get an assignment and we look at the big picture and say, I could never get that done, and I'm going to fail it, and I'm not going to do well. But if you start working backwards and say, what can I get done today on that? And what can I get done this next 30 minutes on that assignment? And what can I get done on the next 30 minutes on this assignment? It's amazing how we begin to feel better about ourselves. And so I think the biggest thing is be kind to yourself. You're successful. You're at university. You've already made it this far. Try to focus on what you can do and do well. And don't look at the end of that. Look at what you can do to accomplish that assignment. And see if you can readjust your mind to looking at what you're doing, what you've already done well and what you can do well. So be present. So it sounds like you're looking at the future. One of the greatest things you can do is to really be present in that day and at that moment, and be kind to yourself and be present to what you can get done that day. Not what you can get done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but what can you get done today? Be so present and do well.
Yeah, thank you for your sharing. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're done. We had over about 70 people today, so I am so excited. I'll be back. The next time I'm going to be sharing, at this point, I think it's going to be on growth mindset. So if you don't know what that is, you don't want to miss it, because growth mindset is so important. It's learning how failure helps you grow as a person, because we're so afraid of failure, aren't we? That we become frozen. So how does failure help us grow? So we're going to be looking at that, and we're going to be looking at growth mindset. So keep following us on Facebook. Make sure to like it on Facebook. I'll share my slides with Suchita and see if she can somehow share them with you for those that want that. I hope this is helpful. And I look forward to having you all back and next time we're together. So thank you, everybody. Good questions today. Good talking. Be kind to yourselves. Take good breaths. Exercise. Laugh a lot. These are hard times.
Okay, thank you too.
Thank you.
Stay safe and healthy. Okay.
Thank you, Nansie.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay, bye-bye. Good night.
Bye bye everyone.
Bye. Have a good day, everybody.
You too. Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.